sunshine I gotta love, and I know that it's all mine. Oh,
Hi there, my name is Hillary, and in today's Revit tutorial, we're going to go over how to create drawings. So in part one, I'm going to show you how to create and edit sheets in Revit for those cases when you need to make the sheets in Revit presentable. And then in part two, I'm going to show you the methods that I use to create presentation drawings from my Revit model. So to start, I've created a little base model so that we can work with it to create our drawings. So I have some views already set up, the floor plans and everything that it comes with automatically, and I've created my 3D view. So I'm going to begin by creating a sheet. So I'm going to right-click on Sheets and say New Sheet. I'm going to start with the A0 metric, but I'm going to edit it. So this view is two-dimensional, and this is our title block. So the edge here is where the page of the sheet ends. So if I want to begin by editing this title block, I'm going to click on it, and like everything else, it's a family. However, this family is just two-dimensional. So I'm going to click Edit Family. And now I can customize this and make it my own. So the text here corresponds with the information in the project. So I'm not actually going to type my project name here. I can type that in my project. So this is more just for the formatting. So let's say I don't want this list. I'm going to click Delete. And I'm going to get rid of some of these consultants. I can also adjust the size of these, move them up. I'm just moving that up with the arrows on my keyboard. I can make these bigger, change the size of the label, and I can delete lines and everything. All of these are just two-dimensional lines with the subcategory here, medium lines. So if I were to line weight it, they would appear medium. So now I can really change this up by clicking Create, and then I can add more lines if I want. Clicking Escape and Escape again. I can add text and everything here. I can add masking regions, symbols, etc., and dimensions. Not that you would want dimensions on here anyways. And importantly, I can go to the Insert tab and I can import an image. So if you're using this for a tech project, and for example, you've made up your own logo, and you want to put a site plan in here, that's where you would save that as a JPEG, and then you would say image and you would import it. So for example, just really quickly, because I want to show you how to scale, I'm just going to create a logo and save it. I'm going to click Image and locate my image and click Open. Now it's here, I can place it anywhere, and then I can use the Move tool and all of these tools. I'm going to place it here, and then I am going to use the Scale tool and make it smaller. Beautiful. Now I'm going to save this. Because this is a family, we need to save it. I'm going to click File, Save As, Family. And now I can click Load into Project. So now I'm going to go to the sheet that I created. Click on the title block, and now I can change the title block with this drop-down menu to Custom Sheet. And now I have this. So if I go to Manage, Project Information, so that's where I'm going to see my project name and everything else. So I can change this to be okay, and that should all update in here automatically. So that's how you customize your title block. Now I'm going to add my sheets to the title block by dragging and dropping them right here. So this scale is way too tiny for me. I'm going to make it bigger. And this view right now, this box is way too big. So I'm going to click here, double click on this, and I'm going to just bring this in. And I'm going to double click out to get out of that. And I don't want that black box around it, so I'm going to unclick Crop Region Visible. Now it is no longer visible. Now when I move this, the title block moves. And so I want to click out of it and then drag this title up to here. Now I want to make it so that it's shorter. I'm going to click here and drag those extents. So now I have one view and I can place it there. So now when I go back to this view that I have placed here, it's going to save those settings. So now if I double click in here, even when I zoom out, I don't have my little elevation icons because I cropped that view. So I'm going to go to Site, and now I can see my little elevation symbols. I'm just going to move one to right here. So I'm going to go back to my view, and this time I'm going to drop that south elevation. And in this view, I've decided I want all of my drawings to be the same scale, which is 1 to 50. I can see right here in the Properties panel. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to change this to be 1 to 50. Now this is too big, so again, I'm going to crop it, double click. And as you can see, as I'm cropping them, it's also cropping the annotation categories, which in this case are just the levels. So now I've decided I actually don't want the levels in here, so I'm going to double click into here, type VV, which is Visibility Graphics, and I'm going to turn off my levels. Okay. And now let's say I want a section and I want it to line up here. I'm going to go back to, let's say, level 2. I'm going to write View, Section, and I'm going to take a section through here. Looks good. And I can switch the direction of the section by clicking this. I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to open my sections and drag this. Change the scale once again. It's a lot of the same repetitive process. Now let's say I want these to line up. I actually don't have any snaps right now, so I'm just going to use detail lines, which are our two-dimensional lines. I'm just going to use the DL to draw a detail line. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. You'll notice it won't snap because I'm not in the drawing. I'm just going to line that up. And now I can use that as a little reference. This is sort of cheating the system because obviously these aren't perfectly lined up. And then I can delete that line. So as you can see, there are snaps for the annotations for these drawings, so that's really helpful. So I want my cut line of my section to be, let's say, black. So I'm going to double click, type VV. All the cut patterns, I'm going to say are black. Okay. I'm going to make it solid. Okay. And then click OK. Awesome. And I'm going to do the same for my plan. And as you can see, once I've added these drawings to my sheets, my section little icon is going to update. So this is A101, which is the sheet number, and then 3 is the drawing number. And these numbers appear based on the order that you place them in. So you might want to think of that ahead of the time. So now, just so you guys know, I'm also going to show you how to draw a call out. So if I'm in a plan, I can now use the call out tool, and I'm going to make it a rectangle, and I can just go like this. Now my call out has appeared right here. I'm just going to drag and drop this in as well. Beautiful. And then of course for this, I can scale it as well. So now just to go over some quick tips on your sheets drawings. If you want to annotate them, you have this annotate tab, so you can add all of your dimensions, and you can add those dimensions in the drawing. So I have to double click in to get into that view. And then I can add these dimensions and you can see that it will snap. If it's snapping to the wrong thing, I can just tab through. There we go. And these dimensions, you can change the font size. If they don't have a font that you want here, or if they don't have a size of font that you want here, you can just click Edit Type, and then you can edit those properties in there. I'm just going to double click to get out of this view. So drawing details in Revit are not perfect and not great because modeling all of the detail that you're going to draw in a detail drawing is a lot more work and is sort of unnecessary if you can just draw it in, let's say, CAD or in Revit with just 2D lines. So I can, for example, use this call out. I can double click in, type BV, and make this cut line solid white. And then I can use detail lines, DL, and draw whatever sort of layers you want to add. And you can even, there's even an annotation symbol for insulation, which is really helpful. I'm going to click Escape, and I'm just going to show you the types of lines. So when you are drawing detail lines, which are, again, your two-dimensional lines, you have these different line weights custom in Revit. So they're right here. I have thin lines turned on right now, so you can't see the difference. But if I change this to be a wide line, you can see it changed like that. So your drawings also aren't limited to two-dimensional drawings, so you can throw in a 3D drawing, throw it right here, and because it is an axo, it does have a scale as well. And I can double click into this, change it to be hidden line by typing HL or by changing it right here. I can even make a perspective or a section perspective, and I can throw that on the sheet as well. I'm just going to do that right now. So I'm going to go to the site plan actually, and I'm just going to go to View, 3D View, Camera. I'm going to type WF so I can see through. And then I'm going to go like this. And so the first click is where my person or my camera is standing. And then the second click is how far my view is going to be. So it doesn't really matter here. I'm just going to click like that. Now it's going to open my view. That's really close actually. I'm just going to move the position of my camera now. I'm going like this. And then I can even extend this down here, move this. If you do this a lot, it's going to get really warped and weird to look at, but you can pull this a little bit and cheat how big your view is. Just a quick tip for using that camera view. If I want to orbit now, it's going to really change things really quickly and start to look very odd. So I'd recommend not editing your view by orbiting in here. I'm just going to Control Z, but instead to edit it by clicking on here, going back to your plan, and then editing that view here. You can change how far you're looking by pulling this. So now to make a section perspective, I'm just going to go back to that view, double click it, and now I'm going to click this section box. You can see it's the same section box as if you're in your default 3D view. So this looks really odd, but this box that just showed up is not actually going to show up in that view if I were to export it. This is your section box view. So if I go back to a plan, again, you're going to be doing a lot of back and forth between your plan because that's the best way to edit it. I'm still selecting that box. If I were to click away, that box would disappear, but I can now adjust where my section perspective is being cut. I can actually rotate this box as well. Just if I want to make it square with the camera for whatever reason. I made this a very weird view. It is pretty hard to do that, to make section perspectives by hand or in some other programs. So this is definitely an awesome way to take advantage of your 3D model, especially if you put a lot of detail into your model, like by placing furniture everywhere. Making a section perspective can really show off how much work you put into the actual 3D model instead of just a 2D CAD drawing. So now you can see my section box is starting to cut there. If I were to pull it back a little bit more so it's cutting through the kitchen. This is gonna look very weird, but we're just experimenting here. So there we go. Now you can see my kitchen is being cut through. I can hide this if I want to, if it's just getting annoying. I'm gonna elements. And again, I can make the cut hatched by typing VV, all cut pattern, change it to black. Okay, solid, okay. So this is our really weird looking section perspective, but now I'm just going to throw it on the sheet because I might as well. And this registers as a 3D view still, not a section. And of course, because it's a perspective, I cannot change the scale. So that's one thing you're sort of limited to on if you're making sheets and you're actually laying everything out by scale, your section perspectives are going to be all over the place. So now I'm going to move on to part 2, which is how I create presentation drawings from my Revit model. This might not be the most efficient way to do this task, but this is just what I do. So I'm going to click File, Export, and now I have all of these options. This is helpful if you're creating a render or if you're just exporting a section perspective. You can do an image. You can also do print to PDF if you would like. If you don't care about line weighting or if you don't care about layering and the scale, you can print a PDF and then bring that PDF straight into Illustrator. And let's say the only line weight you care about is just making an outline around an axo. This is the quickest way to do that. You print a PDF, bring the PDF into Illustrator, select all the lines, make them thinner, and then maybe hand draw around an outline. And that can be done really, really quickly. But when I'm making my good presentation drawings that are properly line weighted, I go File, Export, and then CAD formats, and then I click DWG. Now, I'm not sure if my settings for this are just outdated and I was dealing with a glitch from years ago, but I change everything to be solids, ACIS solids, not a mesh. And then I change this to be 2013. So now I'm going to click Next. And now this is where our sheets are saving. So this button here is clicked, Export Views on Sheets and Links as External References, okay. So that button means that it's going to export once as a full sheet, and then it's going to also export each of these individual drawings, which usually I just take those individual drawings. So now you have 2 options that basically do the exact same thing. You can either open that DWG in CAD and then use the layering tool to layer and divide up your lines onto different layers in order to then use those layers as your different line weights. You can do that in CAD. So once you've layered them in CAD, you can then export those drawings using the layout sheet and export them at a certain scale and bring those into Illustrator to line weight. Or the method that I use more often, just because for some reason I find scaling in Rhino a tiny bit easier. I go to Rhino, File, Import, and then I locate my drawing, and you can see that I have the sheet and then I have each individual drawing. So I'm going to open this, click Open, and then I want to maintain whatever units I had in my Revit project. So I had millimeters, okay. And now my drawing is here. So now I can create new layers here and put everything that I want on one line weight onto one layer and etc. And then once I've layered and I'm ready to export at a scale to Illustrator, I can highlight this, File, Export Selected, or just type that. And now I actually have the option of saving it as an Illustrator file. So I'm going to go to Adobe Illustrator and say this. And then I can say save, and then you're going to get a window pop up that lets you specify the scale. Okay. So now I can actually open that Illustrator file, and I have my drawing scaled and ready to go. And now you can just line weight it in here And your layers that you can use are going to pop up right here straight from Rhino. So just to recap, we took those drawings from Revit, exported the sheet as a DWG, opened the individual drawing, which now is at a scale of 1:1, brought that 1:1 drawing into Rhino, layered it so that we can line weight it really easily in Illustrator, and then exported that as an Illustrator file at the right scale. And then we opened it in Illustrator, and then you can line weight it really easily. So just remember, if you're ready to print your drawing, or if you're going to export it to, let's say, a portfolio, in order to keep those line weights looking fresh, you need to export it as a TIFF. And then lastly, sometimes I also bring these drawings into Photoshop in order to jazz them up a little bit as well. Thank you so much, and let me know if you guys have any other questions. I can always do a follow-up video. Obviously, everyone has their own styles and preferences for which programs to use, so it's a little bit hard to tell you exactly what to do, but this is just what I do in order to take my 3D model from Revit and make presentation drawings. Thank you.
For the sunshine, I gotta love it.